Guys, you can see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So today mostly we're going to discuss about the control statements. So these are the control statements that are very useful, and there are some other control statements that are also very handy in different applications. The break, continue, and the go to statements. So we start with the while loop. While is control statement, what is the structure? So it is written like this: while, then you have the expression, and if that is true, then you have the statement. So that is the basic structure for the while loop. So inside the bracket, you have the expression, can be a condition. So as long as this is true, this will carry out this, execute this statement. So if the expression is true, so it will execute the statement. If it is false, so it will skip, right, the statement and go to the next instruction. Is that clear, guys? Any question?
No, sir.
So this is, here we have only one single. You can have a number of statements to complete a task. So in that case, we write like this: while, then you have the expression, and then you put in curly braces, right? Your statement one, statement 2, right? And so on. And then close this, right? Any question, guys?
Uh, yes, sir.
Sorry,
Yes, I have a question, sir.
can't hear you.
Hello.
Hmm?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Not very clear.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Okay, go ahead.
Sir, pertaining to the while loop, other than these two ways of expression, is there any other way to is there any other modified syntax for the while loop, um, which involves putting it within the curved bracket?
Okay, if you find any other modified expressions, let me know. There can be many different ways. Okay. So right now, let's focus on this. Let's say I'm giving an example while one, right? So one is an expression here, which is true because it's a positive number. So let's say that we use a variable x. Let's say we are using a variable x. X is 0. We define x0. So inside the loop, we increase the x value of x. X is x plus 1. And then let's say we want to display this number x on some display board. Right? So write display x. Now this one is a function, right? So we are calling a function from this program. So that function we have to write to display this number. Right? So we are not writing this function, but we are assuming that we have that function. And that function, if we just send this value to that function, the function will display that number. And then you put some delay after that. Delay 100. Right? So this is another function. This is actually a built-in function that we have inside the compiler, right? So that is called the library, right? So in the library, there are many built-in functions. So we can just use them, right? And display here is not a built-in function. That is, we have to define this function, and then we can use that. So we assume that we have already defined, and that's we are using here, calling this function from the main. And this is library function that we are just using, right? So the number that you put, and say this, when you call this function will cause the program to make a pause, right, for this many milliseconds. So after this execution of this statement, it will display X. So this function will cause the program to pause for 100 milliseconds. Okay. So next, what we do now, here we close this one, right? So this we have written a small program, right, using the while statement, while one. So one is always true, right? And its value is not, we're not changing its value. So it is always true, and so this small this control statement, this will keep on executing this set of these instructions, right? As long as this power is on, right, program will keep on running. And what it will do, it will keep on increasing the value of x and display the right values. Every 100 millisecond, it will increment the value of x and display on the display board. Right? Is that understood, guys? Any question?
No, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
But I have a small question about the delay.
Now, if you want to just display the values up to 100, right? Let's say this one is open-ended and there is no, stopping. It will keep on increasing indefinitely until it overflows the system. So if you want to put some upper limit here, so we can write this if statement. Let's say if x is greater than 100. If x greater than 100, then we set x0. Then what will happen? If we write like this,
স্যার আমার x যদি 100 থেকে বড় হয়ে যায় তাহলে x কে 0 তে সেট করে দিবেন।
sorry,
স্যার আমার x এর ভ্যালু যদি 100 থেকে গ্রেটার দেন হয়ে যায় তাহলে আমার x কে আমরা 0 তে সেট করে দিব আবার।
then
এরপরে হচ্ছে
দেন হচ্ছে আমার লুপটা ঘুরবে আর কি আবার।
right, the whole process will repeat, right?
Yes sir.
So this will display number 1 to 100, and then x will exceed 100, and then we are setting x to 0, and then process will repeat again. So it will display again 1 to 100. So every time it reaches 100, x will be
স্যার
set to
ইনফিনিট
0,
টাইম চলতে থাকে।
right, and will repeat, and so keep on, continuing the same thing.
স্যার ব্রেক করতে হবে আর কি।
Any question, guys? Okay, so now let's say instead of setting x0, if I write here break, then what will happen?
It will
0
stop.
থেকে 100 শো করে সে
Sorry?
Stop.
the
It would
program
stop after 100 is displayed on screen. After 100 is displayed on screen, it would completely stop and break from the while loop itself. Program will terminate.
Right. So when x is greater than 100, it says break. Break means it will break away, right?
Yes. It will escape the loop.
It will exit the loop, right?
Yes, it will exit the loop. Not
Yeah.
the conditional.
So once you have this break, right, command, the program will exit this control loop, right? It will go out of this, right? And whatever statement is here, then it will be execute that statement next. So it will basically display number 1 to 100, and then x will exceed 100 and it says break. So it will stop executing this while loop and it will go out of this control loop. Okay. Any question, guys?
If it's continue, what then? If it's continue, what then? Instead of break?
So that is interesting what happens if you would continue here. Actually, nothing will happen if you put continue.
It will just continue.
So if you put continue here, right? So continue means it is asking program to go back to the beginning of the loop, right? Continue whatever you have continue inside this control loop. So it means it will asking the program to transfer the control to the beginning of the loop. And beginning of the loop, what we have? We have this if statement, right? So again, it goes back to if x is greater than 100, continue. So just in a circle, right? Basically, so in the display, you will see that it has displayed 1 to 100 and then it is doing nothing, right? But basically it is here stuck, right? Inside the loop. Is
This
that
is
clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
what if we add both continue and oh, okay. What if we add both continue and break?
I don't know. I mean, why do you want to do that if there is a situation? So, so whichever comes first, that will be executed first, no? And
And the other one would not be.
break comes first and continue is coming after that. So it will already exit. I mean, before it can reach, continue. It will already exit the the loop, right? It will never reach the continue. Or if it reaches continue first, if continue is coming first and break is next, it will never go to the break, right? So it will stuck with that continue statement. Anyway, so another interesting application here is the goto.
Can that be used in a replacement for while loop or any other loop?
Sorry.
If goto is used in a combination of if else or if else if statement, uh, then can it be used as a replacement for loops like while loop?
So basically, we are trying to focus on the basics of this. So we don't want to go into those, complicated situations. So if x is greater than 100, so now we want to see if you use a goto, how it will work. So goto means then you have to mention some, address or something where it has you want the program to go, right? So that you will usually indicate by a label, right? Let's say ABC is a label for a certain instruction and it can be put against any of the instructions. So let's say we label this x equal to 0 instruction with this ABC, right? So if we write like this, so when program says that here the instruction, if x is greater than 100, go to ABC. So then what will happen? Program, the control will be transferred here at this statement, right? At this ABC. And then it will set x0, right? Then it sets x0, then it comes down this while loop again, enters into the loop, and then carries out the whole process, right? So it will again increment x from 1 to 100, display all the numbers one by one, and then x will exceed 100. It says go to ABC. It will again goes to ABC, set x to 0. So this way also it will keep on repeating the same thing, right? Any question, guys? Sorry. Okay, so while one we have this statement, and there are many other important applications of this while loop. So here you see the first one is showed here while expression statement. So what if you have this take this statement out, you write while. Okay, we take a pause. So we are discussing the basic or the while this statement here. So what happens when you take this control statement out, right? So if you take that out, so you are left with a semicolon, right? So what will be the right response, right, of the program, right? This is basically written like this, right? With the semicolon put here instead. So when we have this like when we have expression like this, right, while statement. So let's say we have while the expression is a true one, while one is true. So what will be respond? How the program will respond to this, right? Hello, guys.
Sir, can you repeat the question?
Sir.
You have this statement, right? While one, then semicolon. What will be the response of the program? How it will respond to
Sir,
this instruction?
all the statements will be true. The expression is true. Always.
Expression is true and
and it will be executing all the statements.
What statements?
Then 100, 1 to 100 would be displayed, and then
No, there is no statement here, no? We have
which one?
some while.
Sir, কোনটা একটু দেখাতে পারবেন স্যার?
We have just while one, no?
হ্যাঁ, while one এর ব্যাপারে
Yes, while one and then semicolon. And when you have this while one, then statements, right? Statements
Right.
follow. But here there are no statements. It's followed by semicolon.
blank blank হয়ে থাকবে স্ক্রিনটা।
Hmm?
It will continue, but will continue to show a blank screen. Nothing would be shown.
It will show blank screen. If there is no screen, then
The loop will keep on happening. The loop will keep on happening.
there is no loop here, no? And basically that, I mean, this is one single followed by one single statement. This is, you have a set of statements, right? So if the expression is true, it will carry out those instructions. But here, there is no instruction to carry out, right? So what will happen in this case? Program will do nothing.
Infinite loop.
Right? It will do nothing. It will just wait, and it will wait indefinitely, right? Until you shut down the power, right? It will wait here to get stuck, right? It will not do anything. It will just wait indefinitely.
That sounds very patient.
Yeah. So this is another, I mean, important, sometimes we use this in the program. The other way of using the same thing, as I show an example here for that. This is a part of our microcontroller. Let's say we have 4 different ports, and let's say we are using the port A. And port A, there are a number of pins, right? 0, 1, 2, right? And suppose the port A pin 0, a sensor is connected, right? And we're waiting for some signal, right, from the sensor, right, to take some action by the microcontroller. So whenever the microcontroller gets a signal from the sensor, it will take an action, right? Or it will execute certain instructions, right? Until that, it will wait for the signal from the sensor. So how do you make the program to wait? So using this, I mean, this while statement. So while, as long as there is no signal, right? So how do you write this? You can write this like this. If pin A, this is the, I mean, we're reading from pin A, the pin 0 of port A. So that is written like this: pin A, port A, pin 0, right? Dot 0. So that means the pin 0 of port A, if that is 0, right? So there is condition, I mean, if checking the condition, if that is 0, right? If that is 0, just wait. Right? So that is how we can write this. Right? So as long as this is true, you do nothing, you wait. So once the signal appears, once it gets high, right? So it becomes false, and then the program will just move to the next statement. So it will fall through, right? So it will not stay here anymore. So as soon as you get signal high here, here's 1, right? So then it becomes high and it becomes false here. So it will then proceed to the next statement. Right? So it will take whatever action now it has to take. Is that clear, guys?
তো এটা কি ওয়েট করছে সেমিকোলন দেওয়ার কারণে?
So while has some very useful and important applications in the programming of the microcontroller. And so in the most microcontroller programming, you will see that we have this while statement, while loop. So next, the control statement is the for, which is we are all very familiar with. So like let's say expression 1, and then we have expression 2, and then we have expression 3. And then you can have one single statement, or if you have a number of statements, then write like this: statement 1, statement 2, right? You can have a number of statements. And then closing braces. So that is the basic structure of the while, the for loop. So the three expressions here, the first one is usually an initialization. So if you want to initialize a value, let's say we take a parameter this n and we initialize it with 0, right? So that will be our first expression. And the second expression, we put a limit to this value of n, so that we can write like this. Let's say n is not greater than, less than, right? So that will be, so n is less than 100. That's the upper limit. We set the upper limit. And then last expression is an increment or decrement statement. So here, increasing the value of n by 1. And then we have this closing, the braces, right? Beginning braces. And let's say the same thing that we did with the while, if we apply that here, so we take the x with initial value 0, and inside the loop, we increment the value of x, and then we ask to program to display.
Please open the door.
Display x. Just give me a minute. So that is our, we're displaying the value of x, and then we can put a delay millisecond, and put the time, and we close this one here. Okay. So that's the same thing that we did with the while loop. So we're doing it here with the for loop. So here it starts with x1, display the value x, and then you can increment, continue the loop. So how many times we'll have this, right?
Sir, would it be X or N? Like in the first line for first bracket n equals to 0, but you used X.
X, we started with the x, and x we're incrementing by 1, right? Displaying in the display board, right? So how many times we will have this loop, right?
Sir, for the expression, will it be n or x?
I have used two different variables, so that you don't get confused, right? But you are still getting confused. This n is here to that determines how many times we'll have this looping, right? And inside whatever variable we will have, so those are the variables that we are trying to process, right? There we can have many different variables, right? And this n is different. This is just to determine how many times we want this loop to be executed.
It's 100
Is
times.
that clear, guys? Remember the while loop, while we try to display the x, right, from 1 to 100, we're doing the same thing here. Because n and x, they are having the same value, so you are getting confused. They can have different values. Let's say we have x 10, right, instead of, and we increment by number 2, right? So probably then you'll not get confused, okay? So whatever. So how many times we'll have this loop in this
It's
case?
100 times.
100 times, right? So because n starts from 0 and it will continue until, right, n is less than 100, so that is 99, right? So 100 times it will continue. And what else? Yeah, so it will display from number 2, so first number will be 2, and then it will increment it 99 times more, so at the end it will be 200, right?
So 200 to হওয়ার কথা না।
Sorry, hello, cannot hear you.
স্যার বললাম যে স্যার 200 তো হওয়ার কথা না স্যার, এটা তো এডিশন হলো স্যার 102 হওয়ার কথা না।
Sorry, it's just from actually 10, right? 10 plus 2, 12, so 210, right? From 12 to 200.
ও সরি স্যার, আমি ভাবছি আপনি এক্স এর ইনিশিয়াল ভ্যালু 0 দিয়েছেন।
X changed to 10 because students are getting confused. They are thinking these two are same.
জি স্যার, তাহলে 200
Sir,
Yes.
the if they are in sequence the same, then we can essentially, replace n with x. But if they're different, then we can have the two different variables. But I have a question: if we unnecessarily pick too many variables for one job, would that make the program slow, or would it increase the memory of some sort?
So I cannot understand when your
If
sound
we
was
take-
too low.
If we
Louder.
hello,
I think you should fix your mic first.
I already fixed my mic. What's wrong?
Can you write down the question? too many variables. Here we have only two variables, okay? Program can handle many variables. The frequency that we have for the microcontroller is 16 megahertz. So it takes less than 1 microsecond to execute one instruction. In 1 second, it can execute millions of instructions, right? So if you write a program, right, with 1,000 lines of instructions, even then it can execute that whole thing in less than a second. So, I mean, that's I think fast enough for us, right? Our response time is quite slow. So I don't think there is an issue with program being getting slow, right? Because of course these two you cannot expect to be the same. They'll be always different, right? And anyway, I think that is the question is not quite that relevant to our topic what we are discussing. Okay, any question to this for this operation?
No, sir.
Okay. So next. Okay, so here I will show some interesting application of this break. And so here I kept some space intentionally. So if I put this condition like if x is equal, let's say 100, right? X is equal to 100, then I say break. So then what will happen?
It will just break out from the for loop.
Oh, it doesn't work. So what will happen if I put this break, right?
It will just break out from the for loop after x equals to 100. It will not show 100 plus 2.
So it will exit this loop, right?
Yes.
It will exit the loop once x is equal to 100.
Basically, it will display up to x equal to 98.
Right, and it will exit the loop after that. Now, what happens instead of break if you put continue? Right?
It will prevent it from executing x equals to 100, but then it will perhaps it'll continue
So
for
once
the
you put
rest.
continue, so what happens? It will go to the first line, right, of the loop. So it will go to this line. So x was 100, now it will be 102, right? So 102, then it will go to the next. X is not 100, so it will proceed to the next, right? So it will display 102, right? And then again put this delay, and then it will go back to the first line, right? So it will display all the numbers, right? Starting from 12, right? And then 14, and then everything. But it will miss out the number 100, right? It should display all the numbers except the number 100. So that's what will happen if you put the continue here instead of break.
স্যার তার মানে হচ্ছে কন্টিনিউ দিলে হচ্ছে আমরা প্রোগ্রামের ওয়ান লাইন ব্যাকে যাব, এমনই তো? মানে
ওয়ান লাইন ফরওয়ার্ডে যাব, মানে সরি ওয়ান স্টেপ ফরওয়ার্ডে যাব, মানে ওই যেই ইয়েটা ডিসপ্লেটা হলো না 100, ওইটা অমিট হয়ে যাবে। তারপর আবার নেক্সট n+1 লুপে ইফ লুপ নাম্বার nটা কন্টিনিউ করতে হবে, ওইটাতে কন্টিনিউ করে n+1 লুপে থেকে আবার কন্টিনিউ করা হবে। Right, sir?
Right. So it will skip that, right? This part when x is 100, it will skip the rest of the instructions, right? I'll just skip this rest of the instructions. It will go from here to here, right? Usually it's supposed
জি
to
স্যার,
go
আমি
all the way,
ওটাই
but it will not
আজ
go all the way.
করতেছিলাম
It
আর
will
কি,
skip
যে
it. Yes.
না স্যার আমি ওটাই আজ করতেছিলাম যে আমার যেহেতু ইফ এর আগের লাইন হচ্ছে এক্স ইকুয়াল টু এক্স প্লাস টু, যখনই আমি কন্টিনিউ কোনো একটা লাইনে দিব তার ওয়ান লাইন ব্যাকে আমার কোডটা আবার স্টার্ট হবে।
No, not one line back. It will go to the first line. Here it is one line back, but you can have continue here at the end, right? If you have continue here, then also it will go to this first line, right? Or if you have continue here, doesn't matter where you have this continuous statement. Program will always transfer the control to the first line, right? It will always go from continue to the first line, right? Doesn't matter where is your this continuous statement. Here it is in the second line, just so here you could give are thinking that will just move back one line, right? It's not that. It's to the first line.
ওকে স্যার।
Okay. Okay. So now the other thing is here. We showed the break, continue. Other interesting thing is it's not working. So again, if I put go to here, let's say go to ABC, right? And I label this ABC here, right? Then how it will work? So once x is equal to 100, go to ABC. So that means the control will be transferred to this line and x will be set to 10 again, right? X set to 10, and then it will proceed to the next statement in the for loop, right? Again, it will enter into the for loop, right? And then it will just repeat everything again, and then x will be 100 again to go to for loop. So every time x reaches 100, it will transfer to this line, set x to 10 initial value, and then repeat the whole thing. Is that clear, guys?
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
It's pertaining to the go-to. If instead of ABC is put here, if it's put in the lower portion, in
It
other
will skip
words,
this then.
মানে go-to-টা মানে ওই ধরেন ফর লুপের নিচে লিখলাম,
Yeah, it will exit the loop then. Yeah.
it'll exit the loop and enter there, right?
Right. Go to that
Okay.
line.
But it won't go on in a loop like.
No. It will not. Okay, so our next statement is if then else. So it is quite straightforward. We have
I have a
if, then we
small
have
question.
again what question?
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, can we keep the questions for the ending of the class, because it seems
Too
a
many
bit
questions are
disruptive.
not
Yes,
very
sir.
helpful. Right?
Yes, sir.
It has to be relevant.
problem.
If you
So
are
it makes us difficult to understand things when you explain and
we are focusing on the
someone's
basics.
asking questions over and over again.
If then expression if this is true, then we have this statement, right? Now that's the simplest form. Now if this is true, it will execute this statement, and if not true, and if there is some other task it has to perform, then we'll extend this by adding this else, right? If this is true, then do this statement, let's call it statement 1, or else if this is not true, then go to the next statement, so that we call statement 2, right? And if there are number of other tasks that we should do depending on other conditions, then also this can be further extended by adding more if from here. So if this is true, then do this, else if this is true, else if this is true, then do this. Yeah, and if this is not true and there is some other thing you need to do, then put else. This is statement 3, right? You can further extend if this is true, this do this else, right? Statement 4. So that is how we can extend this to any number of if else. So that is. So basic structure looks like this: if, and then we have else, and then you can extend it by another if, else, right? Then looks if, else, else. You can further extend with another if, else, right? So if, else, else, else. So it can be extended n number of times. There is no limit for that. Is that clear, guys? So it's quite simple and straightforward. I guess you're all familiar with this one. So next one that I would like to discuss is switch case statement. So switch case statement, how it works. So case is here. Okay, so the idea between the switch statement, you have this switch and switch the control of the program to different sections, right? Depending on the value of this case, right? Depending on the value of the case. So there can be different, control, different tasks you need to do. So task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4, task 5, right? So, and which one has to be performed will be depend on the value of the case, right? So if case is 1, so it will perform task 1, right? So then here you can have a block of statements, right, to define the task. Similarly, right, for task 2, task 3, task 4. So that's the basic idea of this switch case, and this is very useful in the industrial defined process control applications where you need to perform a set of tasks one after another, right? So you perform the task 1 first, then task 2 first, then task 3 first, right? So there you assign a variable, let's say z, assign initial value with 1, right? And we have the switch, right? Switch z, right? And then inside it is written like this case, right? And then number 1, right? And then you have the statements under this. Statement 1, statement 2. So you can have a number of statements to be carried out under this case 1. And that will end with a break statement. So once the tasks are done, so it will move out of this control loop. Then you can define the second task, case 2. Right? So here also you can have a number of statements. Statement 1, statement 2, right? And then it will also end with a break statement. Similarly, you can have case 3, right? Sorry. Then again statements, right? So you can have n number of cases, right?
Acha, sir,
The last one is
sir,
you can have a default, and that
sir,
is
just that.
optional. You may not have default tasks to perform, so this default is an optional. And
Sir,
then
আমার একটা
we
question
have
আছে,
the
sir.
closing braces, right? So if z is 1, then it will, right, and when it goes to the switch control, then it will carry out whatever is defined, right, under case 1. If z is, let's say, 3, then it will jump to case 3 and carry out whatever is defined under the case 3. So that is how this will work. Any question, guys?
Sir, একটা question আছে.
Now, the example that I mentioned for the industrial control, so process control here, let's say that you have to do the tasks one by one, right? So what we can do that we can define a while here, right? While one. So something like this, then you do here, right? Under the while you have the switch. When the case 1 is done, you define the z value to be 2, right? Z2. So you have the break statement that goes out of the loop, and then because while 1, it will again, right? The outer loop, we have the while loop. So again, it will enter this switch command, it will carry out the second task, right? So after second task, when it is done, you define Z to be 3. So it will break, it will go out of the loop, inner loop, then it will be inside the outer loop. So that will cause the right program to jump to case 3. And here you define Z4, right? So these are one by one you can, right, carry out all the tasks, right? Is there any question, guys? No question? Okay. So next we'll discuss a little bit about the, what we say, the functions. So functions are like a small programs, right? A set of codes that we define to carry out a certain task. And this is useful when your program needs to carry out that certain tasks again and again, right, repeatedly, right? So you define that set of tasks as a function and just call that function from your main program. Right? It makes your program neat and clean and concise, right? So how do we first, the function declaration, how do you declare the function, right? You have to declare the function. We have already briefly mentioned in our last class. So declaring the function, we have to, so the type of the function first, and then you have the function name. Then you provide within the brackets the parameter values, right? Parameters, you provide the parameters. Now this type, if the function has to return a data, so this type should indicate the type of the data, whether integer or float. So this is the, we call it return data type, right? So Type is the type of the data that the function has to return, right? So it can be integer, it can be char, or it can be float, right? Return data type. Parameters, the parameters that the function that needs to process, right? So here you can have number of parameters, and those parameters, those are also data. So also you need to define the type of those parameters. Right? So you can, if you have a number of parameters, let's say you can have type parameter 1, type parameter 2, and type parameter 3. So number of parameters you can have. Right? You can have one parameter, two, or you can have no parameters. If you have no parameters, then your function declaration will be like this. Function name, and then you just write void, right? If you have no parameters, right? So program is not using any parameter. If function is not returning any value, so if it is not returning, so you don't need to declare any type there. There's no type declaration is needed. So in that case, also you need write here void. Right? So this is not returning any value. So just write void. Right? So void function name void. Right? So this is how we declare the functions, right? So at the beginning, like we declare the variables, we need to also declare the function if we want to use any function in a program. Is that clear, guys? Any question? So now I'll show you a small example how we can use the function in the program. So let's say we have we need to do a small task, add to the variables we have a and b, right? And we just need to add as c is a plus b, and that we have to I mean do in a function subprogram. So before that, first what we have to do, we have to declare the function. So since function has to return a variable, right? Return a value, c. So that value will be an integer number. So the type of the function, we call it int, and we can give a name. So let it will doing addition. So just to call it addition, the function name, and it has two parameters, a and b, and both are integer numbers. So we can just declare them to be int a and int b. Right? So this is our function declaration. We have declared the function. Right? So now we have to write the main program. So main program, again, we have to first write the name of the main program. So it starts with void. There's no data to return and doesn't need any parameter values. So also void here, then opening braces, and then let's say we have variables x, y. So let's say integer x, and then y, and then say result. These are three variables we are using. Let's say we say x is 20 and y is 30. We are assigning these two values, and then result should be addition of these two, but we are not doing this inside the main, but for that we'll call this function, right? So call this function addition. So addition, and we supply these two parameter values x and y, right? So our program is done, right? So we are adding these two values x and y, and what we are adding this to in the function subprogram and calling that function to do that task and return the result. So now we have to write the main, the subprogram, the function subprogram. So again, we write like this, int, and same thing, addition. And then inside braces, we have int A, int B, right? And then our body of this function subprogram. So in the body, we have two here. We have need one more variable, that is C. So we declare that first, int C, right? Now what will be C? C will be summation of A and B, right? And that we have to return to the main. So we write here return C, right? And then closing the braces. So our program is done here. And when this will execute, you see that X here is 20 and Y here is 30, right? And this is calling the main. So here, first we have int A. So X will go into A and Y will go into B, right? So 20 and 30 will go into A and B. Then C will sum that up. So C will be 50 and that will be returned. So, and here it will go to C. C will go into the result, right? Is that clear, guys? Any question?
স্যার ইন্ট এডিশনের যে ফাংশনটা এটা কি আমরা সবার প্রথমে লিখেছি না পরে লিখেছি?
Sorry?
স্যার আমাদের ভয়েড মেনের ফাংশনটা লেখার পরে ইন্ট এডিশনের যে ফাংশনটা লিখলেন যেখানে c a + b লিখেছেন এটা কি সবার প্রথমেই লেখা লাগবে না কোডের সবার শেষে লিখব?
Function subprogram, this one?
জি স্যার, এটা কি সবার প্রথমেই লেখা লাগবে?
No, first we have written this one, the main, and then we have written this, right? So this is coming like this, right? Also, if you, we can write this one first. We can write this one first, and also then we can write void main void. That's also
আমি
okay.
জিজ্ঞেস করতেছি কারণ স্যার রেজাল্টে যখন আমি এডিশন xy কল দিব সেটা তো নিচের লাইনে লেখা, মানে হচ্ছে অর্ডার কি মেইনটেইন করা লাগবে না এখানে?
No, it's okay. It can come, I mean, before the main, no problem.
ওকে স্যার।
Okay, so that will be all for today. And
Sir,
yes.
I had a small question.
Okay, let me take the attendance first. Okay.